work with them on this. They're not going to do that. And that's quite evident even today. We see just recently two men were actually arrested on a big anthrax scare. The courts didn't investigate it. They just got from a non-credible source that something was happening, and they went out and arrested them.
This is Larry Wayne Harris and Bill Levitt.
That's correct.
In Las Vegas, Nevada.
And now they're finding out that these microbiologists were actually putting together a vaccine for anthrax. You know, they don't think.
And I told the new, by the way, I was personally involved in that case. I had interviewed Larry Harris a day before he was arrested on my local talk TV station program, Ted Gunderson Intelligence Report. And the media talked to me after they were arrested. I said, nothing to it. Believe me, it's going to go away. These men are not terrorists. They're talking about defensive protection, not offense. Go ahead, Chip.
Well, and that's right. And the court system as it's set up today is not set up as a tool for justice. It's set up as a tool for retribution. Anyone that they want, they can get. And you're going to spend 2 years in jail until you get to appellate level where you have a little bit of a chance for justice to be heard, but never at the district level.
Chip, going back to George Bush, how many conversations did you have with George Bush?
Hundreds.
Hundreds when he was head of the CIA? By phone and in person or both?
Not as many, probably about 30 at the CIA, but more post-CIA after 1986 when I was placed into what's called the operational subgroups, where I worked alongside Danish intelligence, Turkish intelligence, British intelligence, Mossad. We had groupings of foreign intelligence officers that worked directly under the Vice President and later the President of the United States.
Did George Bush have knowledge about the drug operation coming out of Central America and South America?
Yes.
Explain.
Well, he was in one of the camps. He produced the cocaine.
Yeah, but did he know about it?
He was standing at a press.
George was also, in addition to Ollie.
George Bush was standing right at a cocaine press.
And did you have a picture of that?
In a place called Roos. I have a picture of something.
Okay, we won't go into that. So George Bush was aware of it too. Ollie North was aware of it. How about Clinton?
Bush was absolutely aware of it, and I can say that because on the 24th of March 1985, William Barr, who would later become Attorney General.
Attorney General, know him well, know of him well.
William Barr actually called Vice President Bush via SATCOM and talked to him about the loss of over $100 million in assets of the enterprise. And we all know the enterprise today as being the company that, or the operation that Ollie North set up.
$100 million? And who got their grubby hands on that?
It was decided that there were three entities involved, not one particular person, but Noriega had involvement, that Barry Seal had involvement, and that the governor of Arkansas, who was involved in it at the time, Bill Clinton, had involvement in it.
And of the three, Seal has been murdered. Noriega's in jail.
Noriega was to be murdered, though, during
yeah,
the assault.
They took the troops down there in '89 to eliminate him, and he survived by going into, I think, a Catholic church, didn't he? Or
right. Well, Bobby Hunt, SEAL Team 2 commander, had orders to go in and shoot Noriega when he tried to get out at the airport. He never showed up there because we told him ahead of time. The CIA told him he's a friend of the CIA. He was an enemy of Bush. That's nothing more than a business deal gone bad. We let him know ahead of time that there was a contingency coming in to assassinate him, needed to get to a safe house. So he chose that particular church as a safe house.
The Catholic Church.
Catholic Church got cameras out there so that he was safe.
And now the only one that's left is Bill Clinton. And did Bill Clinton take the $200 million, $100 million, whatever it was?
He got a large portion of it, very large portion of it. However, you know, I'm going to tell you now, Bush is a very vindictive man. I don't think that Clinton's out of the water with it. You know, I think he's still in some hot water, and that could be a lot of the pressure that he's seeing today. It may be a little bit of a vendetta to get even. You never have to get even tomorrow, Ted. In the business that we're in, you never push for something to happen right away unless there's an operational need for that. Time is always on your side.
Time down the road, whatever. You're talking about the Monica Lewinsky situation, right? Maybe that has something, maybe it doesn't.
If you look historically, I know that I was told that Bush was going to leave bugs in the White House when he left. Why would he do that to another president unless he has a personal interest or personal vendetta there? The bugs in the White House, folks, don't mean electronic bugs. You know, the best bug in the world or the best information in the world is called human intelligence. So what you do is you take these career White House personnel and you put them in the White House, and they're listening and they're keeping track of everything that's going on. Well, it's hard to put an electronic device in the White House. If Starr thought that he could take Tripp or Lewinsky and put a bug on them and get them in the White House, all they'd end up was that person in prison for trying to bug someone in the White House. You don't get into the White House with a bug, but you get in there with a brain that can keep that intelligence in it and pass it on. That's how you get in, and that's how you bug the White House. So he always had constant information flowing to him from the White House from career workers in the White House. You know, why did they all of a sudden throw these people out of the travel office? Perhaps they thought that maybe there was a little intelligence work going on there.
Probably.
Tripp.
Clinton,
Well,
yeah.
let's look at Tripp. She was taken out of there right after Vince Foster because she talked about it. Wham, she's out of the White House and into other areas. You know, there's a lot to be looked at that's just overlooked by the mainstream media because I'm told I have a pretty devious mind. Well, you know, it's because I worked for these guys and I know how they think.
Chip, as far as Ollie North is concerned, you told me in one of the radio interviews I had with you that you had some recordings, audio recordings of a conversation in the back of an airplane. Was that with Ollie North or somebody else?
No, that was with Mike Harari and a man named Raymond Buddy Young. That was actually presented at our SEPA briefing in Tampa, Florida to Judge Adams. The recording was presented. We have transcripts of that, and we've actually put them in the Tatum Chronicles.
So now, when you say SEPA, you're talking about your hearing before the judge where you discuss classified information, right?
Right. During the course, as we were leading up to the trial, there are certain filings that have to be done prior to a trial and hearings. And in April of 1996, just before the trial, the U.S. Attorney's Office gained information that perhaps I would attempt to disclose classified information from my previous work. So they filed a motion with the courts that required me to file a briefing, an actual brief, outlining any classified information that I would attempt to use in my defense.
And then the judge rules on whether or not you can use it.
Then the judge rules on it. He had the decision that the judge has to make under the SEPA requirements is, first of all, is it classified in any way? Second, does it involve national security issues? So after being presented with that material, and it has to be done in declaration, under oath, the materials were provided to them. And let me tell you something, if anything I said in there was false, I would have been charged with perjury. There was never a perjury charge. The issues that were given to him were investigated. I was never charged with perjury or obstruction of justice, trying to say that this happened when it didn't. You know, that's an obstruction of justice charge. No charges like ever came out. That's a pretty big issue.
Was the judge sympathetic, you think, and objective?
You know, Nancy talks about this judge being a terrible judge, but let me tell you something. It's obvious to me, working in the arena that I work in, he knew what was going on. He made the decisions that he made, so there would be no question at the appellate court that justice was not served.
So actually, he probably was your friend then.
He's the only reason that I can talk about it today. By him saying that this information was not classified and doesn't have to do with national security, the CIA can't come back on me. National security folks can't come back on me for talking about what I presented to that court at the time.
Chip, let's go back, and we've talked about Ollie North, we've talked about George Bush, we talked a little bit about Clinton. Do you have any direct knowledge that Clinton was aware of the drug operation coming into Arkansas?
The direct knowledge is that Buddy Young was actually a advisor to Clinton. He was his chief of security, and he was one on board the aircraft, and he was sent there by Clinton to investigate the loss of monies that had been determined. Additional direct knowledge comes in the fact that one of the people called by Barr was the governor of Arkansas on that SATCOM. He called North, he called the vice president on this 24th of March conversation, and he called the governor of Arkansas and talked to him. So, and governor of Arkansas then was William Jefferson Clinton. So they were talking about the enterprise, about the lost monies. And additionally, in earlier years, and when I was at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, I actually flew several missions carrying medical coolers again with money and drugs in it into Arkansas.
Out of where? Fort Campbell?
Out of Fort Campbell. It was delivered to us by the 324th Med Battalion.
Out of the South America?
Out of South America. They were operating in the South America in Honduras. It was flown by C-130 to Fort Campbell. It was marked medical supplies. Donor organs, this particular one was marked. And we were advised to give it to Dr. Lassiter at Little Rock Air Force Base. So we flew it to Little Rock Air Force Base. I opened the coolers. I don't fly a cooler without opening it. I don't fly anything without opening it. Let me tell you why I don't fly coolers without opening them. I was told by Colby earlier that Torrijos died simply because they put a cooler marked donor organs on his aircraft that blew up in flight. So whenever I see a cooler, I open that cooler.
And what did you find in the cooler?
We found a large sum of money and 3 kilos of cocaine in one cooler. In the other cooler, we found all cocaine. Those 2 coolers were picked up by Dr. Lassiter, who actually ended up being, as we found out in later years, a man named Dan Lassiter, who was convicted for trafficking cocaine in Arkansas. However, he was pardoned by the then governor of Arkansas, Bill Clinton.
And did you have any information that Clinton had direct knowledge of that? No, you flew him into Arkansas. Was Clinton there waiting for it, or was there a limousine there or anything like that?
We had to wait over an hour and a half for Dr. Lassiter to show up. But when he finally showed up, he showed up in an entourage of vehicles. There was a van, there was a stretch limo, and an unmarked police car. In the coming out of the stretch limo, Dr. Lassiter came forward. He had 2 people with him. One stayed at the car and one came over. He introduced the one that walked over to the aircraft to pick up the coolers as the governor of Arkansas. And the governor of Arkansas extended his hand, and that's the first time I shook the hand of William Jefferson Clinton. He wanted to let me know that the people of Arkansas appreciated me bringing those donor organs.
Because he didn't know you'd looked into them.
He didn't know I looked into it.
Do you have that in your book?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that's in, again, the Tatum Chronicles, right? Okay, Chip. Now, what about the truth serum, truth drugs that the CIA used? We need to talk about that.
Sure.
People can be alert for it.
You know, I talked a little bit about in those containers down in South America, the processing that was done.